If you want to learn how to build the best longsword setup, you are in the right place. I will be updating my longsword damage meta build, which I covered in my recent top longsword builds video. The Storm Samurai build is capable of dealing high damage per second with an effective raw attack of 454, 85% affinity for consistent critical hits, and 40% critical damage boost for even more damage while maintaining good sharpness levels. Since this is a meta build, I'm using an optimized Artian longsword which has an amazing stats of 225 raw attack, 5% affinity, and 100 paralysis element. Paralysis is still king when it comes to overall damage output, whether you are playing online or in multiplayer. For the reinforcement bonuses, I do have 4 attack bonuses and 1 sharpness boost. However, I will not be suggesting these bonuses, but at least running with 2 attack bonuses and 1 sharpness would be suggested. Or if you decide to chase 4 attacks and 1 sharpness boost for a God Artian weapon, feel free to do so as well. Just in case you are wondering, I'm using Virgil's Yamato's layered weapon mod because I hate how the Artian looks, so I fixed it. Many dislike using Artian weapons, and if you are one of them, the Lalabarina longsword is still a viable choice. Or if you wish to take advantage of Zoshia's lethal blazing Raphael longsword, I made a video about it recently, so feel free to check that out in the description or click the card here. For the armor sets, slot in Gorehelm Beta for the headpiece, Numinous Shroud Beta for the chest piece, and Gore Van Braces Beta for the arms. Follow up with Gore Coil Alpha and Gore Grips Beta. We are still going to wear the Exploiter Charm 2 for the easy weakness exploit skill that it provides. You do have 2 options when it comes to mantles as well, but Corrupted Mantle is going to be our choice here despite of the nerf. Its 10% additional affinity, 4.5% attack increase, and additional damage are simply too good to ignore. If you want more survivability, the Rocksteady Mantle is always a good choice. A mantle that grants damage reduction, hyper armor, and protection from other elements, perfect for players who are still adjusting at endgame. Decoration wise, I'm running with 2 critical jewels 3, and of course, the second one doesn't have to be level 3 in my weapon slot. Then slot in Mastery Jewel 3 for the last weapon slot. The headpiece will have Tenderizer Jewel 3 and Sheath Jewel 1. While for the soul armor slot, equip a Tenderizer Jewel 3 as well. Slot in 2 Mighty Jewel 2 on the arms, another Tenderizer Jewel 3, and a Sheath Jewel 1 on your waist armor piece. The legs will have Chain Jewel 3, Sheath Jewel 1, and lastly, slot in a Sane Jewel 1. Following all of my gear suggestions will grant us a level 5 critical boost for the build to have a 40% critical damage boost. A Master Stash is mandatory since we only have 1 sharpness boost allocated in our Artian weapons for us to maintain ward sharpness easily. We are now encountering longer fights, so to avoid frequent sharpening, this skill is a must-have. I always see sharpening as a DPS loss. A level 5 weakness exploit which grants the build 30% added affinity when hitting enemy weak points and 20% more on wounds. Pretty important if we want to hit that 85% affinity threshold. A Constitution level 3 reduces fixed stamina depletion by 30%, which works perfectly with our level 2 maximum might, which adds 20% affinity to our build when your stamina is full. Keep in mind that when you use your stamina, the effect of maximum might will not expire right away, but instead gives the user 2 seconds before the buff expires. So if you manage to fill in your stamina to full within 2 seconds, the buff will not expire, and this is the reason why the stamina usage decrease from the Constitution level 3 works well in this setup. We are wearing 4 pieces of gore set in this setup, so having a level 3 antivirus is an absolute must. It will help you overcome frenzy easily and get an additional 10% additional affinity after overcoming the said status. At this point, a level 3 quick sheath is highly suggested since longsword really demands counters anyways, and this skill helps you sheath your weapons faster, especially when doing AI counters, which all of us should master. In this configuration, I managed to slot in a level 2 agitator for an additional plus 8 attack and 5% affinity when the monster becomes enraged, which is more than half of a certain fight. The level 2 evade window is a nice bonus, slightly increasing the build's iframe window when dodging. While a level 1 burst might seem underwhelming, but in fact, it is one of the skills that works perfectly at level 1, adding plus 8 raw attack after dealing 5 hits consecutively, which is an easy feat for the longsword. Level 1 flinch free prevents simple knockbacks, and coalescence gives a slight elemental or status build-up boost, which is a nice bonus for this build. Since this build has 4 gore pieces equipped, a Gore Magala's Tyranny set bonus is active, granting the build the mandatory frenzy status. Black Eclipse 2 not only adds frenzy, but when the said status has been cured, it buffs the user with another 15% affinity. So you will have an additional 25% affinity combined with a level 3 antivirus, while also giving the user an additional plus 15 raw attack in the process, which is a lot. Lastly, scale layering stops stamina depletion when the user's health is under 40%. Pretty good bonus and another skill that helps you maintain maximum might easily. If you're getting value so far, subscribe to the channel. Liking the video and engaging in the comments helps me a lot. Join our Discord server and help us build a core group to hunt with, and I appreciate your support. When it comes to overall crit calculation, in this configuration, Weakness Exploits gives 30% affinity, Agitator gives 5%, Antivirus and Black Eclipse 2 gives you 25%, Maximum Might provides 20%, and 5% from the Artian Longsword. Overall giving you 85% affinity across the board, which is very nice and will help maintain high damage per second in general. Using the mantle will ensure 95% affinity by adding 10% on top of the damage it provides. Or if you do have additional affinity boost from your Artian weapons, reinforcement bonuses, you can easily reach 90 to 95% affinity if you decide not to have the perfect passives. When it comes to damage tests, I usually test the damage of my builds by hitting the damage 21 times and getting the average, while Agitator, Coalescence, Antivirus, and Black Eclipse 2 are active. Food buffs and a Mega Demon Drug are also applied to the test as well. Performing the Crimson/1 in the Spirit Blade combo, we can see that the DPS range is around between 2400 to 2400 plus after doing several tests, which is pretty impressive but expected because of the build's 452 effective raw attack and high affinity and critical damage boost. If you want to use Lalabarina Longsword on the other hand, slot in critical Jewel 1 and 2 to have at least 31% critical damage boost, and also slot in Expert Jewel 1, giving the setup a total of 99% of affinity. The Lalabarina Longsword has a long wide sharpness, so it will help maintain ward sharpness with ease. But if you prefer slotting Master Jewel over critical boost, it's not the end of the world. We will be using the same damage test parameters we applied to our Artian Longsword, and we are looking at 2200 to 2200 plus damage range, which is 200 to 300 less when compared to the Artian Longsword. But if you don't care about min-maxing, this is totally fine and will carry you through any battles. But if you want to harness the power of the White Flame Torrent, which is pretty nuts, follow this Longsword build instead, and I will catch you on the next one.